Hi guys, it's Leanne and this is week 2 of our 6-week UK versus USA or US versus UK. This week is about us being pregnant up until active labour. So, there's a sock. So I'll tell you about it. So I found out I was pregnant on the 6th of February 2009. I was 18 in 1 month, I guess I can say. So I was going to be a teenage / young mum. The day I found out, I went to the shop and got a pregnancy test from our pharmacy, which was like just down the road. I then obviously took the pregnancy test in my boyfriend's bathroom, and his mum was trying to talk to me through the door, and I was trying to pee on the stick, and then I hid it in my bag and went into his bedroom, and about 5-10 minutes later I looked at it because his mum was talking to us. I didn't really want to look at it, and 2 lines come up, so pregnant. I then told Tom, who shouted for his mum, who told his mum, who looked at the pregnancy test and said I'm pregnant. Tom then cried. Sam then rang her parents to come round. We told Tom's brothers and sisters that I was pregnant. I don't know why, because we didn't know what I was going to do. They were all crying because they didn't want their big brother to go away. I mean, they were young, but you know. I then went up to my mum and dad's, but my dad was only there, so I told my dad that I was pregnant. He wasn't happy, he didn't talk to me. And then I left, and at some point he told my mum. Mum texted me saying that I'm not effing allowed to go back in the house, because obviously she was in shock because I was pregnant. That evening I stayed at baby daddy's house, and his grandma come round, and the thing she said to me I can never get over. She said when you're lying in bed and you're thinking about it, you're going to regret having this baby, blah 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 blah, because apparently their grandson is like the God's gift, and he's really not. So yeah, me and Tom were in together for 3 months before I got pregnant, 4 months when I found out I was pregnant, around about 5 months before I broke up with him because I had enough. I didn't know what I was going to do, so I obviously went to the doctors. They told me how far along I was. I was due the 10th of October. And yeah, I was really excited. About 8 weeks I had my first midwife appointment, because you go to the doctors and then they refer you to your midwife. And obviously the doctors, they did my blood pressure, my weight, my height, all that kind of stuff. I went to the midwife, and we just basically went through this book, which is called the Green Book. So if you live in the UK, you get given this paper book, and they write every week, well, every time you go, which I think it's every 4 weeks. Your first trimester is supposed to be 4 weeks, and then it's kind of every 2 weeks when you're more further along, and then after, if you're overdue, then it's every week. So that's how long you get to go and see them. I had quite bad morning sickness at first. I wasn't being sick, it was just a feeling of being sick all the time, which was really strange for me. I was I can remember being at work, and I told work I was pregnant, and that day I can remember Mum picking me up from work after I'd finished, and I was I really fancy some Dr Pepper, so I went to Sainsbury's, got a Dr Pepper, waited outside for Mum to come and get me, drink my Dr Pepper. And I was like, Mum, drive faster, I'm going to be sick. And that was the first time I was sick in my pregnancy, and it was one of the only times I was sick in my pregnancy. I was quite lucky. But things like Subway, because you have to walk through this alleyway to go up to Sainsbury's, and Subway's on the corner, and you got Costa there. Every time I walked past that Subway, I was like, it wasn't too pleasant, it was a bit iffy. So yeah, that was kind of my weird thing. In pregnancy I kind of craved cherries, lots of different types, so cherry Coke, because I went off of Dr Pepper. Cherry Coke I craved, cherry drops I craved, cherry sweeties I craved, fresh cherries I craved. I liked anything cherry. I really went off roast dinners, and they weren't appetising to me at all, and I'm still put off by them, to be honest. I think of them, I'm like, no, I don't want them. They're kind of a bit, it's one of the things that every other week I might have one, or once a month I might have one. I don't overly like roast dinners that much, but yeah, I'll eat them if people make me one, because I'm just polite, so I'm a bit at 12 weeks I had my first ultrasound. I took my sister, and obviously we went in and we got to see him, and his little squiggliness, he was so cute. He was the cutest little baby. He looked like a little gorilla, must admit, and he was sucking his thumb in one of them. The scanny lady must have thought me and my sister were proper weird. We're like, he looks like a little gorilla. It was quite funny. There's not a lot really, you know, like you go and see a midwife every 4 weeks, but I can't really remember. I can remember not having my blood test until I was about 18 weeks. I refused to have it because I hated it, and I finally let her do it, and oh god, it was terrible. And then about 20 weeks, yeah, about 20 weeks, I can remember I cancelled my 20-week scan, and it was a bit later. I had to, we went on camping, and we took my cousin camping. We had our folding camper thingy in the back. And I can remember that Dad, we were driving and Dad was braking, and we were coming up to a roundabout, and literally gravel and diesel are not a good mix, and the car just went straight into the roundabout, mowed over bollards. And you know, I was about 20 weeks pregnant then, and my cousin was like, is the baby alright, Leanne? Is the baby in your belly alright? He was so cute, and obviously I took the kids out, and then we walked up, because obviously we had an accident, people were helping Dad and stuff. But you know, I think everything was alright because the baby was moving and stuff, and obviously he's alive now, so he was alright. If like I hadn't had any movement, I would have gone to the hospital doctors. But you know, it wasn't like a full-on crash. It was more like a very slow motion kind of crash, which wasn't a proper crash. So at 21 weeks, I had my first scan. Well, my second scan, which is the anomaly scan, which is obviously they do more detail, and you can find out the sex of the baby. I didn't find out the sex of the baby. I took my mum. It was quite funny because Ed was sleeping, which made me laugh, and she was like, oh, we can't really measure him because he's all curled up. She was like, can you go to the toilet, jump up and down, and we'll, you know, come back, and then hopefully the baby awake, and then we can measure him, or the baby, a bit better. So while I went to go to the toilet, Mum was like, do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? To the lady, and she wouldn't tell Mum because I didn't want to know. She said, obviously, if I said you could find out, you could have found out, but I didn't really want to know. And then people start buying you things, and you kind of got an inkling. But we already really knew that we thought it was going to be definitely going to be a boy. So once jumping up and down, I can remember going back down, lying on the bed, and the the lady trying to scan my baby, and now she's like, he's too wriggly. Why is he wriggly? And it made me laugh because she was saying to me, like, can you feel the baby move yet? And I was like, I've been able to feel the baby move from 16 weeks. And I can remember the first time I felt the baby move was in the bath. And it wasn't like butterfly, it was literally, you could see my stomach, like, you know, like that. And I was like, oh, what is that? Like, I didn't realise that happened so soon in pregnancy. So I went downstairs, I was like, Mum, I felt the baby move. And she was like, really? She literally grabbed my belly and like shook it. And she was like that, waiting. And then obviously the baby kicked. So she was like, it was really funny. And Ed was such a wriggler. This is the reason why when we had the accident, like I never really bothered about going, because he was such a wriggler. He moved all the time from that point. He was just like wiggling. And he's the same now. He still moves all the time. Oh, child. So I was like, yeah, I can feel him all the time. And then he was moving and rolling while she was scanning him, and he was moving away. And I was like, yeah, he's moving. And she was like, oh my God, he is as well. Like, and it was like not even little, like it was little movements. I could feel him. So that was funny. About 29 weeks, we went to London. for another little holiday before Edward turned up. So we went to London for a week and we did like the London sights and stuff like that, because I've never been. So I did like the London Eye, and me and my dad went to some museums and stuff, and we went to like the weird You Never Knew or whatever museum in London. And that was pretty cool because it was just really strange. We got some really cool pictures of us going there with my giant bump. And I can remember up until that point I wasn't too bad. Like, my swelling and stuff wasn't bad, but I can remember going to London and I had a flu, and it was like flu as well. I was so poorly, and it made me laugh because it was the time that swine flu was around. So Mum was, you know, thinking that I probably had swine flu because it was a lot worse than normal flu. I was in so much pain, but I still, it's gone funny. But, you know, I still walked around for stupid hours a day in London, and, you know, in the evening Mum and Dad were like, do you want to come out? I said, no, I just want to lie down. And that was like the first time my feet started to get huge and like really painful, huge, and like my belly started to swell. And I can remember going to get, was it a handbag? Yeah, it was a black like handbag, you know, like the plated, is it called plated, you know, where they got like the squares and they're like quilted handbags. I can remember because I was like, I want it, and I got it. So, and this man behind the store was like, oh, how far gone are you? And I was like, 29 weeks. He's like, you sure you ain't having twins? I was like, because I was small, I was quite small, like my bump was tiny up until, like, you look at my 30-week vlog, I like, you know, we'll link it. I was quite small, and apparently it was huge, like that week, it was just massive, and I was a bit strange. I was like, no, I've only like got 11 weeks to go. But yeah, it was like the first time I started to swell and stuff, and then, like, cause I always had protein in my urine, and I started going to the midwife then that week, and when I went back, and she was like, your blood pressure's getting high, and I said, okay. And then things like thrush, and oh my god, thrush in the last, like I had it right at the beginning, and then right at the end, it was like one of the worst things ever. It was like thrush, and I hated it. It was like super sore. I thought I had like an STD or SDI or something, because I went to the midwife, I was like, it's really bad. What is it? It's so sore. She was like, it's just thrush, pregnant ladies get it, but you've got it quite bad. I was like, it's so sore. And you know when you're like, it was really bad. And all through this, I was still working. I was like, yay, I'm still working. I like only worked the 8 hours I worked 8 hours Saturday, 7 on Sunday, and I did overtime in the week. Yep, so I was still working, so I was a good girl. And yeah, my blood pressure was getting higher. And pretty much from that week until, you know, until pretty much the end of the pregnancy, it started to get a bit worse. I had SPD, and that, I had it from quite early, but it started to get about 33 weeks, I think it was. The pain of SPD was so painful. It got so bad to one point that my mum had to pick me up and take me on. I mean, I was 33 odd weeks pregnant. My mum had to take me to the toilet and help me into the bath because it was just so painful. It's just, the only thing I can explain to it is like having what I would guess arthritis in your fanny bone, literally in your fanny bone, and it was, or your front bottom bone. Oh my god, it really hurt, really bad. I'm gonna turn this light on. Hang on, I'll be back in a minute. I don't think that helped none, not really. But yeah, it was so painful. And like, if you watch the end of some of my videos of my pregnancy ones, I was starting to get so excited because I was going to be a mummy, and I was like, you know, getting all into it, and I was like, I'm going to be a single mum, I don't care, because obviously me and Tom broke up, and blah blah blah. And I, you know, I didn't really care. Like, I was going to be a single mum, I didn't care. About 36 weeks, I think I might have been. It was one of my last weekends at work, and work kept saying, you can leave now, you can go. And I was like, I'm not leaving, I need to work, I need money. And I lied about my due date, and I didn't leave until 37 weeks, and you're meant to leave at 36 because you're meant to leave 4 weeks before your due date. And I was like, no, I'm not going to. Or was it, yeah, about that. And it was, yeah, like, I mean, working was hard, being like that pregnant on your feet and like with demanding customers that are like assholes. Oh, it was hard and not too good. And then obviously blood pressure going up still. We're still talking about the blood pressure. Going up, going up, going up, going up. And because my midwife, you normally have the same midwife all through your pregnancy, but we're different to America. We do not have, if you've got a midwife, they're not the ones that go in the delivery room with you. It's got complete random people that you've never met ever before in your delivery room, like doctor-wise, midwife-wise, general people-wise. You've never met these people, and they are looking at your pee hole and your baby hole, like, hello? Like, you know, you got people just, like, you don't even know, and you're like, oh my god, you've got to trust these people. And I can remember having a Polish woman, oh god, right, we're not talking about the labour yet, that's next week, but yeah, oh god. And I had this one midwife, and she was old midwife, and she measured me, and I was measuring 2 weeks ahead, but she put it on the wrong line, on the wrong date as well, and I was like, well, I'm like measuring 2 weeks ahead. And when I went to the midwife the week after that, she was like, she should have booked you into a measuring scan to make sure the baby's alright, not too big, because they said to me that if my baby's going to be over top end of 6 pounds, I'm not going to have naturally. So I was a bit worried, and I went the week after to go and see the other midwife, so I was, 38 weeks, and they were worried about my blood pressure because it had started to go up. So I went into the hospital and I stayed overnight, and they obviously kept an eye on me, and it hadn't gone down but it hadn't gone up, so they were like, right, you can go home and we'll book you in to see another midwife, will come and see you like in a couple of days. And they did. It hadn't gone up again, so they weren't too bothered. So now we're kind of at 39 weeks, and this is where the joy happens. 39 weeks. I then went to go and see a midwife. I was painting my flat, because I just got offered a flat, and me and my friend were painting the flat, and I didn't feel very good. And I can remember a couple of days after that, and I mean I wasn't feeling good at all. My feet were huge, my arms were huge, my legs were huge, swelling here, major headaches. I had like stars in my eyes, I felt dizzy, I felt sick. I was not feeling well at all. And I went to go and see the midwife, and she took my blood pressure. She was like, your blood pressure's fine. I was like, so I went home, and my mum took my blood pressure, and she was like, your fucking blood pressure is through the roof, and she called the midwives. That day they had a midwife sent out to me, and she measured my blood pressure, and it was through the roof, and she went nuts, because my mum rang the doctor, and I went to the doctors as well, and the doctor was like, this is ridiculous, you need to go to hospital now, your blood pressure is dangerously high. So I went to the hospital, and I had to stay in for 2 nights to make sure the baby was alright, so I was put on a monitor and stuff. And it was quite interesting because I had a fidgety, in their word, a fidgety uterus. So in other words, I was in really early stages of labour. And I can remember, because this was Wednesday, and then Thursday I stayed in. I come home Friday, and I went into, I had tea with Mum. I was still feeling a bit dizzy, still in pain. And it was about 9 o'clock at night, and I went downstairs and went, Mum, I think I'm in labour. She was like, that's alright, love. So it was Friday night. I could talk about the beginning bits of this labour, by the way, because this is an active labour. So I started labour. And you know, for the first, I think it was from Friday to Sunday, nothing had changed. They were coming every 3 minutes, lasting a minute. They were so painful. Well, they weren't painful, that's a lie. They were just keeping me up. So from Friday to Sunday, I had no sleep. So Mum took me in the Sunday, and they went to measure me, and they said, you're nothing. You've not dilated or anything at all. So they sent me home, and like, you know, I was in a lot of pain, and I was like, it's ridiculous, I haven't had no sleep. So Mum took me back Monday night, because obviously got a whole free from Friday to Monday, and nothing had happened. So I went back, and I was like, I've had no sleep, I am so tired. You know, they've been constant, so they hooked me up to a machine, and they could see that they were that constant, you know. And she was like, right, we'll give you something to kind of send you off to sleep for a little bit so you can have some. She said, because you're going to be too tired. If it's going to come to you pushing, it's going to be too tired. So she gave me, I don't know what it was, something, and it just sent, it was like an injection in my leg, and it literally just, I was gone for an hour, and that hour's sleep was the most heaven. I woke up and it was just amazing. I was like, oh. And it was just really nice. The other thing that happened in my early labour was the fact that I couldn't poo. So obviously from Thursday to that Monday, I hadn't gone. So they gave me a pessary up my butt, and it hadn't worked. It was just like, just not happening at all. And I can remember going to the toilet going, and nothing was happening. It wasn't coming out. It wasn't going to come. It was like, no, I'm going to stay up here like a child. So yeah, it was quite interesting. But I can remember when they then measured me after I woke up, and I was 1 centimetre. And she was like, right, that's it. She's like, it's, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, you're going downstairs. So they sent me to the the fan ward, which is where people go if they're in early labour, if they got high blood pressure, if they got anything wrong with their pregnancy and you need to stay in hospital. That's the ward you stay at for, overnight. You've got this weird woman staring at me. And so I literally tried to get some sleep, and I can remember a lady come in about 2:30, and she came to check my blood pressure and stuff, and then obviously she saw that I was, so she saw the machine, she hooked me up, she obviously saw, and then she checked me, and I was 4 centimetres, so they sent me up to the delivery bit. And that is where the story ends. It's a really not overly quick. It's like 22 minutes long. But thank you for watching, guys. Like and subscribe. Remember to watch Caden's. And have a good day. And thank you yet again for watching. Bye.